Hello, welcome back to the FPL show on the GallowgateShots YouTube channel. My name is Matthew, and again, I'm joined by Daniel. How are we doing, mate? You all right?
Terrible, yay! But I'm happy to be part of the white t-shirt club tonight. So
Woo, white t-shirts, yeah,
could be worse.
represent.
Could be worse.
Is there like a famous rap like duo that have like worn white t-shirts together? I mean, something like that. I don't know. Could be like
an Eminem
performing.
video. I think you had lots of doppelgangers wearing white t-shirts. You're Stan. You're my greatest fan.
Amazing.
You're the brown head Stan.
To quote what you messaged me on WhatsApp before we started recording, currently making a sausage and egg stotty to cry into. We'll find
delicious.
out. We'll find out why Daniel was crying into a stotty a little bit later on. Tune in to find out why. So just to recap, we've done quite a lot of content actually recently since the FPL game launched. We looked at Newcastle United player prices, which was incredibly popular, obviously on a Newcastle United podcast. Who's surprised? And then we also looked at goalkeepers and defenders. We looked at midfielders. And then most recently, we looked at forwards as well. This week, it's our final drafts because the actual season, I mean, we say final drafts, we say that term incredibly loosely. I mean, it's the season's like literally 5 days away. What, 5? Is it 5? 4? 4 days?
Friday. Whenever Friday is. Matt, this is an FPL channel, not a maths channel. All right?
Yeah, so hang on, get me fingers out.
I think it's 4 days. I think it's 4 days. Who knows at this point?
It's the brightness of the white t-shirts that's like it's totally taken my mind off basic mathematics. So in regards to Fantasy Premier League and the season only being a few days away, you'd expect having so many weeks to plan and think out what your team's going to look like, you would be in a pretty solid position to have a decent, nailed-on final draft. You thought wrong. News around team selections most recently this weekend. Injuries have kind of played a little bit of a part, haven't they, Daniel?
Just a little bit, yes, Matthew.
Yeah. What's happened to you?
Well,
do you want to share with the group?
Yeah, this is my safe space. Obviously, my team has been set up for a while. Like, I've actually been very happy with it. Didn't really need to make too many changes. Then there was just a whole load of information came out at the weekend, like Phil Foden not starting, like Rico Henry getting yellow flagged, like Brian Mbeumo getting yellow flagged, which we'll talk about later, I'm sure. But then tonight, finished work, decided to play badminton for the first time in about 8 years. It went all right. But literally finished at 8 o'clock, opened my phone and saw the news that Nkunku's out for months. We're meant to be doing this. So we started recording this at about 20 to 10 tonight. So I had to get home. I had to have a shower, so I wasn't minging. And then obviously I had to make my sausage and egg stotty priorities. Sat down and it's just chaos on my screen, basically, because all of that information, plus Tottenham actually looking all right, and me sort of bottling a few things, it's not been pleasant. It's the stotty was very pleasant, but the FPL wars are not.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say that I've been quite fortunate because I didn't have Foden in my team. I didn't have Nkunku, so I've not been burdened by that. But we'll go into it. I'll start because my team's a little bit less chaotic than yours. There might be a little bit more discussion around your team, whereas mine, I feel like I'm kind of in a strong sort of headspace to feel like I can back up my decisions. There's maybe two positions which are a little bit sketchy in my mind. Let's see if you can guess which ones they are. If you have any disagreements with the team that I've selected, first of all, you can do one. Second of all, you can pop it in the comments and tell me why, and I'll tell you why you're wrong. So, starting off in goal, I'll say the starting lineup first. We've got 5 million goalkeeper Onana.
Terrible pick. It's a terrible pick. It's a terrible sack him. It's a terrible pick.
Right, stop it. So he's playing in a defence which were like top for clean sheets last year, top for second for goals conceded last year in the league. Onana himself, we know that BPS kind of runs very high on passes and things like that. Onana's pass completion rate was 95% in his last game for Inter, whereas De Gea completed 95% passing rate or higher in only one game last year. So it kind of shows that Onana's kind of abilities with the ball are far superior to De Gea, and obviously Ten Hag wants to pass out from the back, which if Onana keeps a clean sheet, it means bonus points, hopefully. And I mean, Wolves at home, not really the hardest game to start off with either. So kind of nice one, even though Onana was lobbed. He's been lobbed twice now, hasn't he?
I think so, yes.
Something like that. I mean, it's not a strong start.
Man United have not looked great pre-season. They've not looked terrible either. Like, they're not just, who knows? I think it's going to be a classic case of what happened last year, Matt, where they're going to be really good at home and not great away.
And I'm going to be sat there in the front seat. I mean, I don't want to cheer for Man United, let's be honest, but it's always nice to kind of have that little cushion of getting points in my team when they keep a clean sheet.
Yeah.
Ideally, 0-0 draws would be best. Then I've got a 3-man defence for now, subject to change after game week 1. I've got a Stupinan who's like 50% owned or something stupid like that, so it'd be silly not to go without him. First 3 fixtures are absolutely beautiful, but I actually think he'll end up 4.9 by game week 3. I think he'll hit a price drop. Do
you think?
I think so. I think he's going to be a bit of a trap. I think Brighton are going to struggle to keep clean sheets. The only reason I've got him on my team is because he's half the game on him, and he's reasonably priced and he's got decent upside.
Luton, Wolves, and West Ham, though, like
I think West Ham. I think
easiest fixtures you could wish for. West Ham are a shambles at the minute.
It's just, I don't know whether I'm being overly skeptical. I just think Luton will be well up for it. Their first game in the Premier League. Brighton are just attack. I'm thinking it'll be a case where like he's like all fart, no poo. Like he'll look good, I reckon. But we've talked about this on previous episodes. Like if a Stupinan gets 2 pointers, we'll go 2 pointers in 2 out of 3 of those games, and doesn't return in another one, people will sell him for, like, say for example, Fabian Schär, who scores a screamer on the edge of the box in game week 2. Like, because people do that in the first week.
Yeah, I think these are big what ifs.
Oh, they are, but it's just a prediction. It's not like I am thinking that he might be one of the biggest traps out there with him being so highly owned. So many casual players will just look, if he doesn't get a return against Luton, you're already looking, I think, at least 10% dropping off him and moving across. Anything to add? No? I can see you wanted to say something. It looked like you were thinking. If
No.
No?
We can discuss it later with another person's draft.
Ooh, okay. So then my third defender is, we talked about him quite a lot in the previous show where we looked at defenders.
Wait, who was your second? Who was your first?
Oh, sorry, no, sorry, I can't count.
It really isn't a math show tonight, is it, Matthew?
Christ alive! The reason why is I've scribbled out one of the defenders and wrote another defender above him, right? But anyway, we'll carry on. Second defender, 2, is Gabriel from Arsenal, another 5 million. He was in the he is in the 98th percentile for non-pen XG among centre backs in the world. And he's 93rd percentile for pen area touches. He just gets all up in the box, loves a headed chance. In terms of kind of attacking output, for being a centre-back, I don't think you can get much better in the league. And with kind of the set-piece specialisms in that Arsenal team, you'd be hard-pressed to get somebody who's going to get in better positions and are better headers of the ball. What do you reckon?
I will tell you later when you see someone else's draft.
Oh God, please don't keep doing that. So and then the defender that I forgot about is Johnny Stones. Johnny Stones.
Spoiler alert, Matt, before you ask us, I'll tell you later when you see someone else's draft.
Oh, shut up, man. So 5.5 million, right? Plays in he's playing a bit in centre midfield, bit in centre back. He's a little bit of fun. He's a bit of a fun pick. I don't think Man City keep clean sheets. They just don't. We talked about this with Edison, but I think again in that Man City team, I feel like with those fixtures, you want at least one City defender for those opening games. Although I do I do worry about clean sheets with them because they get bored. They get like they get themselves into a little kind of sense of security and then get sucker punched every time. Edison kind of starts playing with like counting the like blades of grass or something, and the ball will fly past his face and into the goal. So 4-man midfield. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. You better believe it.
I'd be following you, to be honest, mate. At this point, I could be following you. Who knows?
So 4-man midfield. Saka, obviously, on pens, 8.5 million, underpriced. Should probably be 9, the same as Rashford. Cracking fixtures. Can't really say anything else. Then Rashford, who's 9 million. He's playing up front, I think, for the first few game weeks while
he is.
While Haaland off wish is recuperating and resting up. And then I've got Brian Mbeumo, who is probably the first iffy one, where I'm not quite 100% sure, just because he's got a dead leg apparently, so I'd have to wait until press conferences. He's 6.5 million, but you said it the other week when we were talking about midfielders. Spurs don't have fullbacks, really. And I think playing on the wing, I do think it'll be. I think it'll be a high-scoring game at Brentford versus Spurs. So I think it'd be nice to have an attacking asset from Brentford in there, especially at such a low price. However, if he's injured, I'm going to have to think of a route to somebody else.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And I don't want Mitoma. He's kind of boring. He's not boring to watch, don't get me wrong, but I feel like he's a bit of a boring pick. Then I've got a 7.5 million midfielder, which is an awkward price point. Kai Havertz.
You've lost your mind.
So, I mean, here's me thinking, right? And above average FPL mentioned it as well. And I kind of thought, you know what, you're right. Kai Havertz can't finish. He's one of the worst finishers, right?
You know what? You're really selling it to us, Matt. I see your trail of thought yet. He can't finish. Not going to get us any points. Straight my team. I want to do it right now.
But apply that same train of thought to Gabriel Jesus. Everybody was clambering to get Jesus into the team. He can't finish either.
Yeah. Matt, last week I literally went, Jesus never came into my thinking because he can't finish.
But I didn't say that. So, he was like 30% owned at one point.
Yes, sheep. The bloody sheep putting him in. Oh yeah, he's up front for Arsenal. Like
now, bear with us though. Bad. So obviously your reaction, I was already kind of in two minds because around 7.5, there's a few differential midfielders that I could choose from. Havertz I've essentially chosen because he's playing centrally in a really good Arsenal team with really good fixtures. However, you've got James. It could be James Maddison, and he could be Luis Diaz, who started in what looked like Liverpool's strongest team in their friendly today, and scored, I think.
So recap your midfield again.
I've got Saka, Rashford, Mbeumo, and Havertz at the moment. And then I've got Elliot Anderson sat on my bench as a forward.
You don't just fancy, or is it because you've only got 8 million, 7.5 million? Is that the issue? You only have 7.5 million.
I'll come on to that in a minute.
I think you've done the impossible up front, Matt. I think you've done the impossible, and I love it already. If you have, if you've done it,
what do you think I've done?
I think you've shoehorned Harry Kane into this team.
No. I'm glad you said that straight away because we'd be building up to something that just wasn't. It wasn't happening.
It's Ollie
I don't
Watkins.
have Kane.
Ah, you bloody Judas. Oh, cheering on. When Aston Villa score against her, yeah, bloody Judas.
Well, I mean, it's
look at my Watkins points. Oh, Watkins won't go.
Anyway, I've got 3 strikers up front. Guess what? Guess who they are? So I've got
Haaland, João Pedro, Watkins.
Correct, sir. So, João Pedro could be an underpriced gem. He's only about 8% owned at the minute. If he gets anything against Luton, he's flying up in price. Purely because he's such a good enabler. Like, by getting him in, that could be the difference between getting a 6.5 million mid and getting like an 8.5 million mid in Bruno Fernandes or getting Saka. Because, I mean, it's absolutely baffling that half of the game don't own Bukayo Saka and half the game don't own Marcus Rashford yet. I just don't get that at all.
Yeah.
Haaland is just obvious. Like, I'm not even going to mention it. And Watkins, I do feel a bit Judasy. I'm not going to cheer him on against us. I'm reckoning we're going to win. I think we'll beat Villa, but it'll be like a 2-1. And I do think, I mean, based on recent memory, Watkins likes a goal against us. And I'm trying my best, and you'll see by who I've got on my bench and what I've done, which I'll mention in a minute. I'm trying my best, knowing what I'm like. I mentioned it before. I'm a sucker for an early wild cards. This year, I'm trying to prepare myself to at least get to about game week 5 or 6. I'm not going to be unrealistic. I won't make it to game week 8. I just know I know myself I won't. But Ollie Watkins, I'm looking at being like a season keeper because I think Villa are going to be good, and I want the 8 million striker from a team who I think are going to finish top 6 this year, essentially. And I guess I did just say top 6.
I do think they're very good. It's hard with Watkins because I don't know whether he's going to get the goals or Diaby is. And the plan was always to start with Nkunku. And then in game week 8, I was going to move to Watkins for Wolves, West Ham, Luton, Forest, Fulham, Spurs away, Bournemouth. They've got 2 dodgy fixtures against City and Arsenal, but it's like, who cares? I wanted that run. But then obviously with Europe coming, they've only got 1 striker, haven't they? 2, Archer.
Cameron Archer.
So I can see they're going to be knackered come the second half of the season. Come December, I think they're going to be really struggling, Villa. But that doesn't help us first game of the season. I understand why people want Watkins. He is a little bit of a formal thing. If he wasn't playing against Newcastle first fixture, I'd just 100% put him in. But because he is, and then he's got 2 magic fixtures against Everton and Burnley, but then Liverpool away, it's like, how did that one go? Palace, Chelsea away, not the best. Brighton at home, like they're a good team. It's just, I don't know. I might put him in.
For me, it kind of boils down. But I mentioned it about Salah, but I mean it's to a slightly lesser extent with Watkins. If you're watching our game and we win 3-2, right, and Watkins gets a brace, and then you've got to sit and watch as he's got Everton next fixture. You're going to be clambering to get him in. You're going to be wanting him in. Now, on my bench, I've got Ben Chilwell at 5.5 million, which gives me the opportunity to kind of switch things up and change formation to a 4-4-2. If João Pedro looks like he's going to be subject to rotation, or I don't know, something happens to John Stones, like just means that I'm less likely to have to hit the wildcard button early. Also, I've got Baldock, who looks like the best 4 million defender, and Fraser Forster, but I mean, who really cares about the 4 million goalkeeper at this point? Probably the key thing that I would probably say right now is I'm sitting at on average, about 33.6% average ownership. There's about 8 players who I'm terrified of in Matoma, Trippier, Shaw, Fernandes, Trent, Salah, Odegaard, and Ramsdale, who are around about between 20 and 40% owned. If any of them do well, I'm kind of screwed. But I've got 2.5 million in the bank. just sitting there in case Trent goes mega against Chelsea, or Darwin, or like the likes of you, like Liverpool assets do really well.
Can I make a suggestion for you? 2.5, because think about who you need to jump up to and who is worth 2.5 extra. Because I think for some of them you probably can't get a Trent. You have to. It would be Chilwell or Stones, I suppose. But if you fancied it, Garnacho's only 5 million, and he's going to play on the left against Wolves and all these other dross teams. It's going to be, and he was apparently Man United's best player in their last friendly. He got an assist. It's 5 million.
Right.
And I just think he's a lot more. I know that Anderson's there because he's 4.5 million. I think Anderson should start for us personally. I think he's been absolutely brilliant pre-season. One of our most consistent performers. He was the best player at the weekend against Fiorentina. But it's really tough. Does he start against Villa? I've got no idea. Whereas Garnacho's going to start against Wolves for the sake of 0.5. So you have 2 million in the bank.
It's tempting. It is tempting.
You've got a bit of flexibility there.
I'm more.
It means that it depends, because if you're desperate to play Watkins against Newcastle, that's fine. But it means that, and I know that you are adverse to doing things like this, but if you just wanted Watkins in for that run, then you could still have him and just bench him against Newcastle and play Garnacho against Wolves. I'd back Garnacho against Wolves more than Watkins against Newcastle.
I kind of feel like if I had Garnacho, I'd have to play him, and then that gives me a selection headache, which I just don't want. I genuinely don't want it. But yeah, that's pretty much me then. That is my team for now. Like I say, the main decision points being Havertz and Mbeumo at the minute. They will probably change. Well, Havertz probably will. I'm more likely to go to Maddison if Harry Kane is still at Spurs, is my thinking. Anyway, what are you doing? What?
Oh God, I don't know what I'm doing.
Are you doing?
Right, goalkeeper. Cue the graphics. So I am being really cheeky with the goalkeeper. Like I'll obviously say like who my bench goalkeeper is for a reason. So my goalkeeper is 4 million Areola against, I think they're in Bournemouth, West Ham. Is that who they're playing? Yeah, Bournemouth. 4 million. I want a 4 million keeper. 50-50 chance that he's playing. 50% chance that he's not playing. So because of that, I do have Flecken on my bench, who's a 4.5 million start. He's going to start. It's just after seeing how Tottenham have been playing, I kind of don't want Brentford's goalkeeper against Tottenham. But Brentford are a really good team at home. So it's like, might even itself out. It's just a case of, I want to start with Areola. If he doesn't play, Flecken can just come in and it's fine. It's just a sub. It's not like Areola's going to get 3 minutes, is it, or something daft like that.
Cue the last minute injury for Fabianski.
Yes, cue it. But you know what? I'd take that if it meant that Areola then got to play the next lot of fixtures. Sorry, Fabianski, wishing an injury upon you. I don't really. But like, if that did happen, I'd go, right, I'd take the L this week. But moving forward, actually, I'd be in a good position with Areola, I think. But yeah, I am being a bit cheeky with it. Defense.
Can I just say I don't like it. I don't like that. I just don't like. I don't like the rotating keeper thing, and I don't like. I just don't like. I just don't like the 4.5 million mids this year. I just don't. I don't think, because 9 times out of 10, when you're choosing the 4.5 million goalkeeper, you choose the wrong one. There is always one. There is always one that comes around.
I've been all right with goalkeepers in the past, I think. I mean,
I'm not doubting your ability. Hey, I'm not doubting your ability.
How dare you doubt me?
No. Don't take it personally. It's
no,
just
I think if I was to go elsewhere, I think there's probably, again, this is fixtures, isn't it? I do like Sam Johnstone with Sheffield United away, but then it's Arsenal at home. Then it's Brentford away. So they're disastrous. Then Wolves at home, which is good, really good. Then Villa away, disastrous. Then Fulham at home, which is good. Then Man United away, which is disastrous. Then Forest at home, and I'm probably going to wild card anyway, which is kind of putting us off Palace players. And Pickford.
mentioning.
I kind of.
It's worth mentioning, actually, now you've mentioned Pickford. It appears because Matt Turner is going to Forest, Pickford and Turner rotate incredibly well also. So if you're wanting to do what you're doing, if you want Jordan Pickford in the FPL team, Pickford and Turner actually rotate quite well because Everton and Forest fixtures rotate quite well.
Who do Forest have first game of the season?
Arsenal. But the likelihood of Arsenal giving Turner to Forest, who are in a goalkeeper crisis, just before they play them, is highly unlikely. They'll probably hold that back until the week after. Then, like you see, you can play Pickford versus who have they got? Fulham, and then you've got the potential flip flop between them.
I may have to have a look at that. The thing is, it's just I don't like Flecken's fixture against Spurs, but other than that, yeah, I really like Brentford's fixtures. They've got 4 home fixtures and 6. Like, yeah, I want that. I want that. So
I did like Flecken. I just don't like. I just like I say. I don't. I think it's an unnecessary gamble when you've got one of the better keepers in one of the better teams for just 0.5 more in like Ramsdale or Nana.
Well, that's the thing. If I did go to a 0.5 higher keeper, so 5 million, I'd go on Nana. I wouldn't be wasting an Arsenal spot on Ramsdale, personally.
True.
Speaking of Arsenal spots elsewhere, Gabriel, I have in my team. What a shot.
Copycat. He's
copycat. Yeah, nailed is the left-sided centre-back, basically. Can score goals. Had the second highest XG of all defenders last season, I think, after Fabian Shaw. But actually converted it a bit more. Threat from set pieces. Yeah, it's a bit of a no-brainer to have him, especially over Ramsdale when David Raya might be going to Arsenal.
Yeah.
Next defender, Pervis Estupiñán. Totally disagree with you about the people jumping off. I think he'll be fine for the first 3, and then I think everyone is going to get rid of him, regardless. You just have to be there, literally, in the game week. Don't even worry about it. Just get rid. Because you can get attacking returns as well, even if Brighton do concede. But I actually don't see them conceding against Luton at home. I don't see them conceding against Wolves away, and I don't see them conceding against West Ham at all. I can honestly see Brighton keeping 3 clean sheets. Or 2. And he can get attacking returns. So, yeah, I'm confident with him. It's just a shame half the game have him. And then my third pick, John Stones. I am playing 3 at the back. I think he's the best pick, not just because I do think he's actually nailed and he's probably got the best goal scoring potential, even though it's not that high. But everyone's been talking about it, all the extra minutes being added on, all this Man City conceding late because they get bored. John Stones will get subbed off. He gets subbed off after 65, 70 minutes every week. Clean sheet locked. Then you're cheering on Man City, concede goals late on. Yeah. It's magic. I had it. It didn't quite work out last year, but it almost did when I picked Akanji, because Akanji just didn't quite get the minutes. He played all the Champions League games. But it was one of those where if you had John Stones or Nathan Ake and they were playing and getting subbed off after 65 minutes, then Edison was conceding, you were just in the money.
Yeah.
Which is why I wouldn't go Edison. And that's why I'm not fully convinced on Diaz. Not because he's not an unbelievable player. It's just he's going to play 90 minutes. Ruben Diaz, 110 minutes probably with all the stoppage time going to be added on. So I kind of want players that are going to get. If it's a defender, I want a defender that's getting subbed off early.
Yeah,
because I think
I absolutely agree. It's good.
They'll nab the clean sheet. I appreciate we're meant to be moving on, but just to finish, obviously you don't need any graphics on this. Just for the other 2 defenders, it was Rico Henry. He's had to come out because he's yellow flagged, and I don't know what's wrong with him. So I've got Chilwell and Baldock. So yeah, we have the exact same plan.
Who would have thought we've recorded a video every single week talking about good players that we'd end up choosing the exact same players, eh? Who would have thunk it?
I know. Look, that could change. Chilwell could very well change. It's just I wanted Chilwell in from 3 or 4 anyway. As we talked last year, I've got like a little spreadsheet that I set up just for like who I'm going to play in each week. So I need to run whatever changes I made by that, basically. But yeah, they'll be on the bench. Chilwell, I'm just waiting to bring in for like game week 3 or whatever. That's why I've got him. It just saves as a transfer down the line. Anything else could happen. I know he's a pretty penny 2 bench. I might have actually gambled playing him, but with Nkunku injured, I just think Chelsea are significantly weaker. Because he causes such a problem on the other end that it does just force teams back a little bit. Midfield, currently have a 5-man midfield. This has all gone to shit as well. So I have, in terms of, we'll start with the players that are the same as yours. Bukayo Saka. I have had to unfortunately change my team name now. My team name was Bukaki Saka, and they've obviously finally found out, and now my team name has changed name. So I need to go
That's
in.
upsetting.
It is upsetting. I thought I got away with that. Cultured, isn't it?
Yeah, no. Do you know what else is upsetting?
Japanese word. Very cultured.
Do you know what else is upsetting?
Same reason as everyone else wants him. He's class. Maximum minutes that any Arsenal player is going to get in the league. Probably on pens. Really good. Yeah. Just you don't have to worry about him. You just pick him and play him. Job done. Yeah. I have Marcus Rashford, 9 million. Not really tempted to go to Bruno. If anything, I'd be tempted to save the money and go for Garnacho if I was to do anything like that. He is a consideration still in my mind. Just for that Wolves game, I feel like I do probably need a couple of Man United players. But Rashford at 9 million, I think is a bit of a bargain. Then the third player that I've got that's same as you is Brian Mbeumo. And he's apparently only got a dead leg. So
should be fine. He'll live.
I think he's a great pick. I think he's the best player at that price point, personally.
Agreed.
The other two, because I am planning on playing a 5-man midfield, that could change, is Martinelli at 8 million. I just think he's the second best Arsenal pick. I think he's the most explosive of them all. It's just obviously minutes, but I think it'd be fine. Again, he can play an hour, 70 minutes, and just do some unbelievable damage in that team. Especially opening day of the season, like that's oh God, I'd be petrified watching him against Nottingham Forest and not having him for 8 mil.
Not if I'm sitting there with Kai Havertz. Like Martinelli will do he'll create all the space with his running, and then Kai Havertz will just be there to
miss
tap
it,
the ball in
to tap the ball out of the ball.
Give it a little tappy, taparoo.
No, never happening. In my 5th midfield at the minute is still Phil Foden, and here's my logic. This could very well change. This is such a risk. But when I saw last year in the Champions League, Pep played Bernardo Silva at right wing. He did it against the really good teams because Bernardo Silva is a very reliable right winger, both defensively and offensively. But he didn't really play him there in the league too often. Now, he's up against Arsenal. He's up against a really good team. And I think against the big boys, we can see Bernardo Silva playing at right wing. I just think it's quite obvious that's going to happen. They're not up against the big boys first day. They're up against Burnley. I just think Foden's going to play. Because this is a question for you, Matt. Obviously, Ortega played. Is it because it was a cup game? Technically a cup game, so Ortega's the cup keeper, which I still don't think is actually fully true. But Ortega played some games at the end of last season. And he looks better than Edison. So is Ortega now the goalkeeper for Man City? Because
me, I don't care. I'm not. We've got. I think we've both done the right thing, and we've covered ourselves in Man City's defence with John Stones. I think anyone else, people talk and say, "Oh, Edison's the best way in." He's not now. Like no way.
No.
And he's not. He wasn't worth the 5.5 million price then. He's definitely not now. Absolutely not. No way.
Yeah, I think. I don't know. I'm waiting basically for Man City fans for on Twitter to be like, yeah, I think X is playing or Y is playing or whatever. What I'm going to do during the week is basically set up a number of teams so that when it comes to Friday before the deadline, I could, because this is an issue. I'm a best man at a wedding on Friday. Yeah, I know, scum, total scum having his wedding day on the day the Premier League starts.
Outrageous.
Absolute scumbag. So selfish as well, by the way, really selfish. So yeah, tinkering's going to be really difficult. So I need to have different teams set up. I need to be ready to go with whatever information I've got at the time. Cross my fingers and hope for the best. Up front, I put João Pedro in. I still would prefer Welbeck, but I can't afford Chilwell without João Pedro because my team has 0 in the bank at the minute, which I don't like. And I've got obviously, but he's on pens. He's probably going to play more games overall than Welbeck, but I only need to get him like 3 games in. And it's only 0.5, so benching him I don't really care about. But I would have benched Welbeck. That wasn't an issue.
I think just touching on Welbeck and João Pedro, there's talk of Brighton signing Mohamed Kudus as well,
he'll be through the door.
Which is 100% going to cause like loads more issues, which is another reason why I've got Ben Chilwell sitting there, because as soon as I get a whiff that Pedro Porro, I think game week 1 he's a fantastic option and he's a great enabler, but I don't trust João Pedro or Danny Welbeck to be a solid option after about game week 2.
That's all I need them. I just need them for two or three. What they got? First 3? They've got Luton, Wolves, and West Ham. I just need someone for the 3. After that, they can sit on my bench until a wild card.
Yeah.
And then I'll have a bog standard. I'll have Cameron Archer or someone else that may hopefully a forward drop to 4.4. Something like that.
Balogun might have gone somewhere on loan, potentially, like something. Ideally, we would like it, but because of ease, but it would ultimately break the game and kind of help the template a little bit more if we did have somebody, so it's always kind of not nice when it happens, although it's kind of helpful. At the moment, I mean, that Mubama from West Ham, who seems to have played and started most games, who's been preferred to Antonio and Ings, starting up front for West Ham is potentially an option. Who's 4.5.
However, yes, 6.9% owned.
Yeah, he could be a potential option. Well, just as a thought.
I've been looking, and it's about trying to even get João Pedro down to make my second striker. Because obviously I've got Haaland, do the graphic. Everyone's got Haaland, is what it is. So for in terms of my final bench player at the minute, obviously wouldn't be on the bench if I could get to him. But I was trying my best to get to Harry Kane.
That's the thought for me. Like, it did cross my mind before we started recording as well, whereby if you were to drop down Mbeumo to a 5 million mid, like I think Justin Kluivert looks good for what it's worth, or Garnacho, then and then kind of dropping down João Pedro to a 4.5.
I'm going to do it now as we speak. I'm sure I tried this earlier and I was 0.5 away.
And then upgrading Watkins to Kane, you might need to downgrade your 7.5 million mid as well.
I think you probably need to downgrade.
Or Chilwell downgrade to.
I think it's who you. I think
Colwell or something. Is a thought, and I love how you're tinkering just like straight away. There's definitely a way which
I'm
you
struggling, mate. Like, I'm not happy with it anymore. I was so set, so happy. The Foden news is a big wind up. The Nkunku news is a big wind up. I'm not really that bothered about the Rico Henry news. It's just, it's frustrating.
I'd prefer Matty Cash to Rico Henry, to be honest. If he's going to sit on your bench for a little while.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I was probably going to bring Matty Cash once I figured out, or a Villa defender once I figured out who's actually playing for them. A Villa defender is coming in my team game week 8, 100%. With it's probably going to be triple Villa, Watkins, Diaby, and a defender. But I need to just see what their team's looking like, especially with Europe, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, trying to change this now. Even if I put Garnacho in, took out Chilwell for a 4.5, put Mubama in as a 4.5, I'd still be 0.5 short for Kane. I'd need to, because Kane's 12.5, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
So, yeah, I'd need to then downgrade someone else by 0.5, which would actually probably be Garnacho just to Anderson.
Yeah,
But
it's a good point. It is a good point.
I'd need Mubama to be playing, like actually playing, because I can't really afford to have Baldock, Anderson, and Mubana as me 3 bench.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. With like having, as long as they're going to play a lot of minutes, like Baldock will play like a fair few minutes. I don't see the problem in having a fairly budget defense. A budget bench. Sorry. Especially this point in the season, you've got no need for it. I mean, I'm trying to be a bit of a clever bollock, trying to get saving 2.5 million in the bank and having a 5.5 million defender on the bench. But that's just because I know what I'm like. Ultimately, I want to kind of have that bit of flexibility, because if I don't, I'll just wild card by game week 3 and ruin my season again.
I could have this team. I could have is a back, so I could have me keepers. Back 3, Gabriel, Estupinian, Stones, with Tanganga and Baldock on the bench.
Is Tanganga 4.5 or 5?
4.
4.
Then I could have Martinelli, Saka, and Bumo, Garnacho, Rashford as me 5 midfielders. And then Kane and Haaland up front.
That doesn't sound too bad.
That actually looks very nice for a few weeks.
And this is so the only issue that you're going to have now after having that is making
Harry
that
Kane
list. That and the list of, like, when I mentioned before that I've got like at least 8 players that I'm terrified of. Yours is probably going to be far worse now because of having, like, dropping down certain players to get Kane in.
That's it, and that's it. Because in game week 3, I'm freaking hell. 4 of game week 4, I need Chilwell.
Yeah,
you need Chelsea from 4, man.
You do.
And how the hell am I getting? I'd have to go sideways from Stones, or 2 transfers. That's just Kane and Haaland, and then Rashford, Saka. Like, it's just so inflexible.
Yeah, I mean, if it's this bad now, imagine how bad it's going to be when the press conferences come out and Haaland's injured. That'd
be class for the game.
It would be great for the game, but obviously in terms of planning and the way that you had your team set, right, I think we should wrap it up. I think we've had a good discussion there. I think I'm fairly set. You're definitely not, by the sounds of it. I tell you what, if you've got an idea on what Dan should do with his team, pop it in the comments. If you agree with anything we've said, maybe when we've been discussing at the end, what we think Dan should do, like I say, pop a comment in. I think at this point, he needs all the help he can get, because he's on edge, bless him. There's only so much support one person can give one other person. So just to wrap up, have a little check out of the other content that we've done in the build up to this. It'll kind of give you a little bit of an idea as to why we've chosen the players that we have. Please become a member for just £2.99 or as little as £2.99 a month. You get access to the Telegram group. You'll take great delight in interrupting our streaming by sending messages which will buzz throughout the video. So obviously, by all means, send a message to the Telegram group and get your buzzing message on the show as well.
Just 101. It was just 101, Matt.
Just 101 messages while we've been streaming. 101. I mean, that isn't even surprising. And yeah, ultimately, we've got a GallowgateShots League set up for people who aren't members. The code for that is NLWOBB. And we've got a members league as well. So you can kind of challenge us, have a bit of banter with everybody in that Telegram group. On that note, thanks very much. Make sure you like the channel, subscribe, press the bell to be notified. And we will see you all on the other side of game week 1.
I'm scared.
Me too. Panic. Bye.